Week 3 is in the books. Week 4 is upon us in the National Football League. So it's time for the 4th edition of the Mojobreak Blitz. Cody with you alongside Doug and Dan. And Week 3 filled with some interesting stories, with especially we'll focus on the QBs as we always do here for the hobby. And I think a lot of interesting storylines are developing in the quarterback conversation. We had the battle of the QBs, the new era, Manning versus Brady, Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson, Mahomes getting the best of him in that matchup, Josh Allen maybe in the MVP conversation. A lot of interesting things to gather from Week 3. We'll start with you, Doug. What was your main takeaway after Week 3?
I know the injuries were still in the forefront, but it seemed like we were talking about them a little bit less. I know there seemed to be the same amount of them, but there was some just good football games going on, and you're seeing some guys that are getting some chances to play, and you're seeing some passing of the guards with a la Mitch Trubisky, kind of like you looking like that game was over. Nick Foles coming in. That's a good story. I almost feel like Nick Foles is better served as a guy that never starts, that comes in later in the game and pulls off some heroics. I feel like when he starts, he doesn't get those W's. But yeah, it's been a fun season, and it's like the one sport, and I know I've said this in multiple episodes, but it's the one sport that I kind of don't think about the pandemic when it's happening.
It's an interesting take. Are you coming up with the quarterback by committee, maybe having an opener and a closer?
Maybe.
Having maybe Trubisky do the first half, bringing in Nick Foles to do the second half, third quarter, fourth quarter?
It just, some pitchers do better out of the stretch. And that's kind of how I contribute here with Foles. It feels like Foles, given the chance to be the starter, it doesn't seem like he's really done much. But when his back's against the wall, he comes in for somebody injured. It's like that's where he feels comfortable.
Foles is a winner.
He is. I like Foles.
Foles
I can't
is a winner.
disagree with you.
I think we can both agree that I would love to see Nick Foles start for that team.
Yeah.
They may be a playoff team.
I mean, but what do you do with the guy that in 2017 you trade up, you basically trade up, you switch spots with the Niners to guarantee, which the Niners weren't going to draft a quarterback that year. You trade up, you don't take Watson, and you don't take Mahomes, and you take Trubisky, and basically a guy that was going to be Trubisky's backup is outperforming Trubisky. How does that make you look as a franchise?
You got to hit on those rookie quarterbacks.
But has he had enough time to develop?
He's still on his rookie contract, but that is on the back 9 of his contract now. He has this year, and I think the 4th year usually is it's 4th year, and then I think the 5th year, because he was like the second pick overall or something like that, it's a team option, which if you're the Bears, you're probably not going to pick up that team option for an inflated rate.
It's a good point when you talk about contracts, because I think the last large size contract was Sam Bradford, and as you very well know, I kind of strapped the Rams for years, where I think it forced them to wait for him to get better, and because he was always hurt, wait for him to get better, and you have to roll with them because you spent so much money on him that it would just look silly if you weren't going with him.
You see that with any quarterback that gets big money now. You got to basically you got to pick up the slack in the draft with other positions. But yeah, great week, by the way. I think we kind of went off topic of the week, starting talking about the quarterbacks, but the week was interesting because the two quarterbacks that we love, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, you definitely saw some growing pains. And people are probably like, what do you mean? Josh Allen won. He looked amazing. He had great stats. Yeah, his stat line wasn't that bad, but he got rattled.
Yeah.
Being up 28-3, he got rattled and started making some pretty poor decisions. Mm-hmm. The first time I've ever seen Josh Allen really get rattled in a regular season game. And you could say the same about Kyler Murray. It looked like he took a step back and looked like a rookie, making rookie mistakes.
Yeah,
misreading coverages, throwing interceptions, turning the ball over. What's going to make Kyler Murray a great quarterback is not turning the ball over.
Oh, really? You mean you can't throw 7 interceptions and win the game?
Yeah, I think he threw 3.
Right,
3, and
right.
I'd like to see the stats on that. If you throw 3 interceptions in a game, got to be 20%.
Yeah, I
chance of
mean,
winning,
unless
right?
your counterpart's matching you, I guess, right, on the other side of the field. But, one interesting thing about that Josh Allen performance was I've never seen a guy, like, speed up the game and slow down the game in, like, the same drive. It was just like – and then I can't remember the last time I've seen a quarterback face mask somebody, which was, like, get off me. Like, it was like a running back, like, move that he had pulled. And very interesting player to watch. I mean, he has so many attributes that are amazing, and then at the same time, he just, you got to remember that it's only really his. He's only been in the league for 3 years now, right? So it's he's still growing. So, but he's a phenomenal quarterback.
That Buffalo team, though, they're good.
Yeah.
They are very, very good. That
They're my
defense.
pick.
That defense is very good. I think it was a great experience for Josh Allen. A lot of young quarterbacks don't get that situation where they blow a second half lead like that and still win the game.
Yep.
He loses that game. That could be demoralizing.
And
He showed a lot of poise in that last drive and getting that touchdown. Now, I'm not going to say the referees helped out and whatnot. I mean, questionable calls, but the Rams got to play better defense at the end of the game is what it really breaks down to, and don't put it in the referee's hands to make that decision.
Yeah, and what's interesting about the whole thing is if you look at it from a card perspective, if you look at the 2018 rookie class, if you rewind and we're at the start of the 2018 rookie class, which by the way was, the 4 names coming out of the gate was Baker, Darnold, Lamar, and Josh Allen. Well, who's being collected the most at the beginning? Baker and Darnold. Mm-hmm. By far, right?
Yeah, and then I would say
Yeah.
if you had to rank them in popularity
in 2018
within the hobby, it would be Baker was clear cut number 1.
Yep.
I mean, it wasn't even close.
Yep.
Sam Darnold, distant 2. And then you had Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson was actually the 4th guy.
Yeah.
It was very much like
the guy who should be the wide receiver, right? As all the
it was-
experts were telling us.
it was the guy who basically was like, he's explosive, but we don't know if he is a NFL caliber quarterback.
Exactly. And Baker had obviously a great rookie campaign, so that whole year, I think he broke the record for most rookie touchdowns. So his value maintained until that sophomore slump, which is kind of carrying on now. I mean, he's had some better games.
Browns are 2-1. Yeah.
Browns are 2-1.
I picked them this week.
But what can we say about Darnold at this point? I mean, I don't know if it's him. He doesn't have any weapons.
No.
I mean, the coaching has kind of been like horrible. I mean, look at what happened last week. I mean, the Niners literally had second and third stringers, and we beat them by, I don't know, what did we win by, like 29 points or something like that? I mean, it was absolute, crazy. Or I'm sorry, that was the Giants, but it was the Giants and Jets. They're like the same team to me at this point. But
I picked, it was the Colts Jets this week, and we'll get into the picks later, but the Jets are not even close to being a legit football team. No. I actually don't see the Jets winning.
Who's better, the Giants or the Jets?
The Giants are better. It's again.
Who's better, Danny Dimes or Darnold? Who would you rather have start a franchise?
Oh man,
that's a hard one.
Given only those two as the option.
I'd go Daniel Jones. I actually think it's the mental aspect of Sam Darnold. I think the hill for him to climb is so steep. I don't know if he can. He needs a change of scenery.
Yeah.
He needs to get on a different team. If he stays there any longer past this year, his career is over. The Jets are going to ruin it.
Or at the very least, they need a change in coaching staff with that team. It's just terrible. And speaking of that, to kind of go off what you guys were talking about at the beginning, that Bears-Falcons game, another comeback, another loss, blown lead for Atlanta. What is it going to take to get Dan Quinn fired? Like, what is going on there?
I know.
Why does he still have a job? And I know that in the NFL, it's not normal to lose your job this early in the season, no matter what's happening. But I really don't know what else you can do to keep that job. You add on, of course, the Super Bowl loss on top of everything that will haunt that franchise until they get another one. I don't know why he's still there. I really don't. I'm not trying to get a guy out of a job, but I don't get it.
And I don't know if Shanahan was like, completely like if they would have went to Shanahan after that Super Bowl and been like, hey, by the way, like, Quinn's going to get fired. You want the job. I mean, they could have, a guy that was already in the system that was already successful with that offense. Mm-hmm. I feel like their offense was way better when Shanahan was there. I mean, that's when they had, when Matt Ryan had such good years. Granted, they're a different team now, but yeah, it's surprising that Dan Quinn is still there.
Well, they've had no issues scoring points this year.
No.
It's been the defense. It's been holding a lead late in the game. And again, it could be a mental thing. You basically, as a player, you're out there and you're like, we got a 2-score lead. It's fourth quarter. Oh no, they scored. Here we go again.
Yep.
It's that mentality where you're like, we're gonna blow this lead again. And I think it's just trickling down through the whole team. Mm-hmm. Cody, I think you're right. I think if there's any team that truly does need a change mid-season, it's the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah, there's too much talent there for them to be this bad and to give up this many leads. And you're right, it's mental, which I think leads us to a game that I want to focus on because I think it has a lot of repercussions for the hobby, and that would be a tie game that happened. Yes, we still got ties. Everybody gets orange slices at Capri Suns. Everyone's a winner today. We got a tie in the NFL in Week 3. The Cincinnati Bengals probably feeling like, though, a tie feels more like a win with the way that franchise is going and the way that Joe Burrows, the rookie phenom, looked in that game. As for the Philadelphia Eagles, Carson Wentz, I think, Doug, you were saying to me that Steve Young was on local radio yesterday and was saying that Carson Wentz has the yips. That's what's going on. It's a lot of the mental game, which makes a lot of sense when you are leading the best team in the NFL by far and having an MVP-type season. Then you suddenly get hurt. And then, lo and behold, we talked about Nick Foles. Seems like these guys are just cosmically linked. Nick Foles comes in, leads that team to a Super Bowl win while you're sitting on the sidelines with an injury. And I think it has really played has really blocked him mentally maybe for many, many years. I thought that, they just don't have enough weapons around him. They need to get some guys there for him. I was a believer in Wentz, thinking that's all they needed to do. And clearly, that's not the case. There's something going on here. And you even saw Jalen Hurts kind of come into the game for a couple of plays. I'm not saying there's a QB controversy in Philly, but certainly when that happens, people in Philadelphia are going to start talking. But I do want to focus on Burrows first. Sacked, I believe, was it 8 times in that game he was sacked?
That's crazy.
And yet, 31 of 44, 312 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. This guy is looking like the real deal very early on. Dan, what do you think?
To be sacked that many times and not turn the ball over, not have an interception is unbelievable, because that basically just tells me that he was under distress the whole game. And that is very typical at the time when young quarterbacks make those terrible decisions and throw a ball into double coverage or basically fumble the ball, make a mistake, something like that, turn the ball over. Getting sacked 8 times and not throwing an interception, remarkable.
Yeah.
I wish he would have got a win. I mean, that's worthy of a W.
Are both those teams are winless, right?
Both 0-2-1 right now.
That's crazy. Yeah, and I know the Eagles get the Niners this week, Sunday night. And I don't know, not to back up Carson Wentz, but I believe he's with, I think 2 or 3 starting receivers are out. I know Arcega-Whiteside's out. I know Deshaun Jackson's out. I think Alshon Jeffrey's out. But I think Alshon Jeffrey didn't want to play there to begin with. He was holding out too. So I mean, he's still got Miles Sanders, and you've got some good running backs there.
Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz is essentially their number 1 target anyway.
But Burrow, to go back over to Burrow, I mean, what I've seen from this kid, the fight that this kid has early on in his career, and granted, he doesn't have a lot of weapons. He's got, who knows if A.J. Green is the same after that big injury last year. Mixon, I don't know. Mixon's kind of, here today, not there tomorrow. And I think if you're the Bengals franchise, obviously this season, you're not going to probably make the playoffs. But I think in the offseason, it's very, very important for the Bengals to go all in on free agents, possibly trade up to get some talent, because you got that window is started. You have 1 year of your franchise quarterback under a low contract, because this guy in 4 years is going to be a $30-40 million a year player. And it may be too late by that time to say, now we're good. Well, now you have no money. So that's the interesting thing about the NFL with these rookie contracts, is that these windows are about 4 years.
Yeah,
well,
the pace he's going right now, it could be big. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think the issue is, sorry for interrupting you. I have a 70% protocol that I gotta stick to. So
that's right. We gotta fill that quota.
Gotta fill that quota. No, I mean, obviously what Doug was saying about you have a kid on a rookie contract. This is the time where you make that push. Not year 1, but year 2, 3, and maybe even 4 into that rookie contract. You have the money to go out, and obviously getting sacked 8 times, there has to be a concern with the offensive line. That's where I would go right away. I would get the best free agent available for the offensive line. And if you do get a top 5, top 7, top 8 pick, you're going with the best offensive line available in the draft. And that's where it starts. I know it's not sexy. I know, a lot of fans would be like, go after the best receiver available. Let's get him some weapons, somebody he can throw the ball to. Those players in the right system you could find.
Yeah.
You could find those players that are going to work. But you can't just go out and find an all-pro left tackle that's going to be a pillar of your offensive line for the next 5 years.
Yeah. Oh, and that's one of the things. The Niners have been riddled with injuries, but if you look, none of the linemen have gotten injured yet. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons.
This isn't wood. This is plastic.
Well, yeah, somewhere.
That's
metal too.
But
metal. I'm just saying, like, one of the reasons why the backup quarterback's been able to go in there and win games as well is because the offensive line is still intact for the most part. There's been a few bang ups here, but for the majority, Trent Williams and McGlinchey and these guys are healthy and they're doing their job. So, absolutely. And then if you're a Bengals fan, you almost don't want them. You want to see Burrow do good, but you almost don't want them to win either. That's a very tough spot to be in as a fan. Because you're like, okay, I want to, maybe we can win 2 games, 3 games. But you want to get in that first pick situation. Now, if they do have the first pick, they're obviously not going Trevor Lawrence. Maybe you could trade somebody that has 29, 30-year-old lineman who's still a Pro Bowler, and then get some picks.
The Bengals are not going to get the first pick.
No, I don't think so.
Again, we get back to the Jets and Giants. They put those 2 teams together, Cody. Do you think they win more than 4 games? Do you think those 2 teams playing in the same home stadium?
Only because if they have to play, let's say if they have to play the Giants schedule, which is a lot of the NFC East, which is just not a good division, maybe they do. I think only because of that, maybe they squeak out 5 wins. But to go with the point about the Bengals, too, the way that Burrow has looked over the last few weeks, I would be shocked if this team doesn't at least get, 4 to 5 wins, if not more than that.
True.
I would not be surprised if they did that. Even still, that's at least a top 10 pick in this next draft, which then also means you can go with a lineman and you're going to have a high pick in the second round. So go with an offensive weapon there. So very, very bright future, I think, in Cincinnati is the big takeaway in these last couple of weeks to start the season. And just a comparison to put a bow on it here, a tale of 2 quarterbacks. You see the prices very recently, the day of that tie, for Burrow, of one of his 2020 Chronicles optics, 5 out of 10, going for a pretty hefty price. And Wentz right now, look, that was the most recent Wentz I could find. That's September 14th. Nobody is buying or selling Wentz right now. He is kind of a dud right now. In fact, I think I saw a dual auto, a rookie auto of him and Prescott that was right around the same price as that Wentz you see right there, which really gives you some perspective of where his stock is at the moment.
And I mean, the Wentz is a Donruss optic on card, which is one of the more sought after. And the Chronicles, granted it is lower numbered, is the card that's probably not going to rank in the top 10 out of being sought after. So that shows you that, man, this hype on Joe Burrow is real.
Yeah.
And a lot of football collecting has to do with the moment. I mean, 2016, a long time ago. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we talked a lot about Burrow, but this rookie class of quarterbacks was going to be a really interesting one. A lot of QBs, 3 in the top 10 picks in the 2020 draft alone. So let's talk about some of those guys and kind of where we stand right now. A guy I really liked, maybe the second most hyped QB out of the NFL draft this year was Tua Tagovailoa. And right now with the Miami Dolphins, he actually hasn't played this week in practice. He's missed his last 2 practices, and Fitzmagic has reared its head once again last week. And so
he's good for about 4 games.
Exactly. We're going to get about 4 or 5 really great games. The beard looks great, Fitzpatrick, but it's going to run out at some point. So, but right now, Tua kind of on the back burner, waiting for his moment. You've got Jalen Hurts, where I mentioned it earlier. Is there a QB controversy in Philadelphia? I don't know if I'll go there quite yet, but you get in there for a couple plays, and I guarantee if we were in Philly right now, Philly Sports Talk Radio would be wild, I'm sure. It's probably been wild with Hurts or Wentz. Who is your guy right now? I mean, even during the draft when we all saw them take him in the second round, everybody was scratching their head going, uh-oh, is the clock ticking for Carson Wentz? Justin Herbert, it may be the other most impressive rookie QB so far. Doesn't have any wins, but I think has been very, very impressive for the Chargers thus far. The other first-round QB would be Jordan Love. That's probably not happening anytime soon, barring any injury in Green Bay, the way Aaron Rodgers is throwing the ball. Of these rookie QBs that are the next guys, which of those that I mentioned are the guys that you are keeping an eye on that you think has the most potential to really move up in 2020 and maybe possibly beyond? But let's stick to 2020. Which of those guys do you think has the chance to have the biggest impact here in the last remaining weeks of the season?
You know, I'm going to go with the dark horse, and you know, it's actually kind of unfathomable to me to think about this, that Tua. There is no other left-handed starting quarterback in the league currently.
That's crazy.
Which is and I'm a lefty, so I got love for my fellow lefties. But I think if he does get a start, and I know obviously it's not a secret that he's left-handed, but just think about the way you rush a quarterback. Think the way that defenders play the ball on the spin. I think he can come in and pull off some insane games. Now, does that mean he's going to have a huge career? I don't think so, but I think if you are sitting on some Tuas, and when he does get the chance to play with the running ability and then coming through on the left side, for one, it's going to look weird watching on TV because who's the last starting left-handed quarterback that you can think of?
Michael Vick?
Well, I mean, but that's years. I mean, right? I mean, it's going to look weird on TV.
It's the first one that comes to my mind. Yeah.
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I mean, when I play basketball, I'm predominantly left-handed, and I could usually play like the first part of the game, and I'm going left, and people, whoa, they're not used to it. I can sneak a few in there before they figure me out because I can't go right. But you know what I mean? Like it's kind of that scenario where I know they're gonna, like, obviously NFL teams have tapes on them and everything like that, but I think it's going to be like guys trying to maybe intercept his ball, trying to jump and block him. It's different. It's a different type of player, and to me, it's crazy that, you know, we have the Mark Brunells of the world, the Steve Youngs of the world, and that's really Tim Tebow. That's all you really have in a lineage of left-handed quarterbacks. I guess Steve Young, is he the greatest left-handed quarterback of all time?
Almost by default, kind of.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, it's crazy to think about because in baseball, it's pretty almost even, right? And left-handed batters compared to right-handed batters. But football, I mean, basketball, you don't see a whole lot of left-handed shooters. Generally, guys can go up with both hands because at that level. But football, quarterbacks, you don't really see a lot of lefties.
Yeah, I'm going to go basically more with quarterbacks that are in better positions to succeed based on their team around them. The Chargers have a good team. Herbert has looked good. He's looked, at times, some rookie mistakes here and there, but he's definitely poised back there. He's got tons of athletic ability. The guy can run. He can scramble. Love watching him. I think he is in the best position to succeed, again, with the team around him. Tua, I would love to see Tua go out there. The Dolphins are not a great team.
No.
But
what's their record right now? Are they 2-1?
I think they're 1-2.
I believe 1 and 2.
Okay, they just got the first one.
And they've been in games. I mean, they're not terrible, but I don't know if he has the players around him to succeed out of the gate. But I would love to see it because he was exciting to watch in college. My dark horse, and I don't even know if he is technically the backup right now in Indianapolis, because it may be Brissett, but Jacob Eason.
I like him.
Love to see him go out there and play. If Phillip Rivers goes down, I would say it's probably going to be Brissett. I could be wrong.
Eason's a big kid, man.
Eason, again, most talent around him, best place to succeed right now. I like the Colts, and I like Jacob Eason.
That's a good call. I think Tua, to me, is the guy. I loved him in college. That injury, devastating, and I think we kind of forgot just how good this guy and how electric this guy could be. Miami did make some noise at the end of last year, but yeah, they're not a super talented team. But, I think there was a lot of people who were saying Cincinnati's not a very good team. Burrow's going to have a tough go of it in his first year, and so far, I know they're 0-2-1, but I think most people would agree Burrow and the Bengals looked a lot better than we were expecting. Just having the right guy in there at quarterback can make all the difference, and I think Tua can be that guy and will eventually. Well, I think that the second half of the season, it's pretty much going to be an audition for Tua. I really think that. They're just going to hand him the reins and say, go ahead and show us what you can do.
And one thing to keep in mind, too, maybe not this year, but the Dolphins, how many picks do they have? I think they have like 85 picks in the next 2 years. Right. So obviously that was blown out of proportion, but they traded away, I think last year it was like every week they were trading. They traded Tunsil for some picks. They traded, I think it was Kiko Alonso. It was like anybody that was worth anything was getting traded.
They took on Aqib Talib.
Yep.
Right. Essentially buying a draft pick from the Rams.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So they were like, we're going to be good in 5 years or 4 years or whatever. Wasn't in the cards right now. But I think at some point, unless they completely fail at these draft picks, they're going to have a good team around Tua.
Yeah. And just some of the values right now of those QBs we were talking about. Jalen Hurts on the lowest end there. You see people are starting to buy the Justin Herbert hype, but Tua right now is still the guy, I think, the second guy in that draft, still the guy that I think a lot of collectors are clearly going to be going after Burrow for sure. And just real quick, Jordan Love, it almost feels like the best long-term play feels like him. Because, they had
itself.
Favre, and then Rodgers watched him, and Rodgers became a Hall of Fame QB, and now Love's going to watch Rodgers. If history repeats itself, Green Bay has a pretty good idea of what they're doing.
It's not all true, though.
Position.
What about Matt Flynn?
Fair enough. Good point. I stand correct.
But you still, and I know you got a draft for the future at some point, but you look at the start that Aaron Rodgers has, and maybe this lit a fire under him. Maybe this is what he needed. But it's like they're 3-0, and you could have got like a Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or you could have got, one of these low draft pick skill positions to add to Aaron Rodgers' already, his repertoire. He pretty much makes people stars at this point in his career.
Yeah.
And you draft with your first pick, you draft a guy that's not going to help you win for the next 5 years. It was very confusing, and I'm still confused.
No, I actually think it goes exactly into what we talk about all the time about getting a franchise quarterback on a rookie contract. How many years does Aaron Rodgers have left? Could he basically sit behind Aaron Rodgers for 2 years and learn the system, learn the craft, learn how to be a professional
quarterback?
And that's
the success they've had before. I guess they're trying to do that again.
But you can't. Aaron Rodgers, let's say that he calls it a career in 2 years. Well, if you didn't prepare for that, what are you going to do for a starting quarterback? You're going to go out and sign. You're going to go out and spend a crap ton of money for somebody's backup to be a starter now, and you're going to be locked into that for 4 years. So I think
it's tricky. You look at how they lost to the Niners in the NFC Championship last year, and they had literally their defense was just getting run over. But maybe you could have drafted a defensive end this year.
I understand.
To win now, I think is for me. That's my philosophy. There could be another 5 more Jordan Loves in the next 2 years.
But you have to prepare for life after your franchise quarterback, especially if they're at the tail end of their career.
See, I'm rather fly by the seat of my pants and just deal with it later.
Yeah, and Rodgers for years. You said it yourself, Doug. He's a guy who makes people stars, so he doesn't need to get like the second best or third best, running back or wide receiver in the draft, because he pretty much can do. He does Aaron Rodgers things with whoever he's got. It doesn't matter who he's got to throw to him or who give the ball to. Rodgers is going to work, and he's going to be one of the best QBs in the league as far as this does light a fire under my thing.
They had the 29th or 30th pick anyway, right? So it's not like they used like the third pick on him or something when they needed some other talent to move the sticks for Rodgers there.
Well, week 4 is here, and let's make some picks, shall we? Last week, let's go over how did we do last week? Last week I had Cleveland beating Washington. That one looked good for me, and I believe I had Tampa in that second game. Seattle beating Dallas.
Close
in a
one.
nail biter. Yeah, close one.
Did you
Seattle lost half their team. I went 2-0.
2-0. There you go.
Yeah, Seattle lost half their team en route to that win, but hey, win's a win. Whatever, I'll take it.
Yeah, I 1-1. I went with the Colts. Obviously, that was an easy one. Which I don't think I'm gonna. Just for the sake of picks, I think I'm sticking. I'm not gonna pick against the Jets anymore because I've done that twice now. But then I picked the Falcons. So I was looking pretty good with old Trubisky out there, and then old Nick Foles comes in and saves the day, and the Falcons was another nail biter. And I don't think I'm picking the Falcons all year long.
Yeah, I went. Colts over the Jets. And by the way, I don't know. I think I'm 6-0.
Is that how it works?
How's he doing?
I think I'm 6-0.
How does he do it?
How do I do it? Wow.
Cheating.
And I picked the Niners over the Giants. Actually,
that's a good pick.
I didn't have to watch the games, to be honest with you guys. Like that was too easy.
Yeah.
Too easy. And that this week, I'm giving you guys an opportunity to get back in the game. I'm picking some Flyers.
Okay.
So if I win these two, truly, I need to get a shirt that says, "How do I do it?"
Vegas Dave, get him in here. Vegas Dan.
Well, throw it at us. Who do you got this
All
week?
right.
Throw it at us.
I am taking the Bears over the Colts.
Ooh.
Believing in the Nick Foles.
All right.
Nick
Nick Foles is here. He's ready.
The Bears.
Going Bears over the Colts. And you guys know my Super Bowl prediction. Not looking very good right now. But I am going Texans over the Vikings.
They have to win that game, especially with we haven't mentioned it, but with Vikings, have they even practiced at all this week with the COVID scare with Tennessee getting, I think it was about 8 people on the entire
and
staff.
that is assuming that game does happen.
Right, exactly. It's
I
still
guess
scheduled. I mean, I think
If it doesn't happen, he just gets a loss.
If it doesn't happen, I will text you guys and be like, I got a new pick.
Loss.
I think it's pretty much been settled. It sounds like they're playing that one, whereas Pittsburgh versus Tennessee will be played at a later date. Pittsburgh is now going to play 13 straight weeks without a bye, and I think Mike Tomlin said, "We don't care." Whatever,
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do?
Tomlin fashion.
And the Texans, they have not looked very consistent.
They need a win.
But I think this is where they really turn it around.
Well, when do buys actually start? Week 5, right? So it's not like just maybe.
They've had. I was just reading it today. They've had week 4 buys in the past. I think they had it.
Yeah, I think the Niners had a week.
Niners
4
had
I do
last
remember
year,
that.
I think, and they went to the Super Bowl. So I guess it's safe to say that the Steelers or the Titans are going to go to the Super Bowl.
Oh,
because that's you need a week 4 bye.
Well, Titans were looking very, very good. Had squeaked out a win this week. They 3-0 to start off the season. So, it's not a crazy thought to think maybe they rally around this. Who knows? My picks, I am going with a team we've been hyping up. I think the Bengals are getting their first win this week. It's kind of a gimme. They're going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have not been looking good early on in the season. And then one to make Dan happy. I'm going with the Rams over the New York Giants.
It's a trap game.
It might be. It might be. Although I loved the fight they had against Buffalo, and they in the first 2 games were very impressive. So, I think that this one to me is an easy pick, but who knows? Maybe the old trap game comes and sneaks up.
My issue, and I can't pick against a New York team every week. I'm not. I made it a point. I'm not going to do it. Plus, I've already done it. But
me too.
The issue with the Rams is that they have done a lot of travel. and they had to go from Buffalo back to the West Coast. So I think you're correct. I think the Rams are going to win, but it is not going to be a blowout. It is going to be a close game. Plus, I mean, you got to be a little hungover on that loss, coming back 28-3, having a lead and then blowing it. The Rams win, but they don't win by much.
Yeah. I mean, but you talk hungover. I mean, the Giants are just absolutely what they got. They're working on a
Giants got nothing to lose.
Hangover
Giants got nothing to lose
except the game.
Except the game. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, actually, this is one week that we all have different picks. So and we didn't plan it that way.
It's good.
I'm going with Kyler getting his mojo back. I think he had a little bit of a learning game last week. They barely lost. Right at the end of the game there. I'm picking Cardinals over Panthers. Cardinals are on the road. So I think Kyler's going to get it done, get the job done. And then I'm going Saints over Lions. I just think that, and they both have the same record, I just think the Saints haven't looked great, and I think this is maybe getting them, Sean Payton's going to get the boys back in form.
Yeah, they did give the Packers a fight, and Breeze looked better in that Sunday night game. But yeah, that's a much better team than I think the record indicates, even with some of the issues.
And there's a chance they may be getting Michael Thomas back this week.
That would be huge.
Oh, yeah,
so
that's right.
Did you read that?
I did.
Is that why you went the Saints?
Well, I went with them because they just lost to the Raiders, and they just lost to the Packers, and now they're going to get the Lions are just like the Falcons. They can figure out a way to lose. They're good at that. And I think Matt Patricia, is not going to be there much longer. And I think Matt Stafford's not going to be there much longer.
Coming off the heels of a big end-of-the-game win against the Cardinals. You're going?
The Lions are always that team, and, my cousin's a fan of the Lions. They just never – they're mediocrity at its best. Every year they're either 8-8 or 7-9 or 9-7
or 0-16
or 0-16 and ruining.
That's how they got Matt Stafford.
Yeah,
right. How's that working out?
I know, right? Matt Stafford is a guy, and I think Matt Ryan's just a little bit of a step above. I know Matt Ryan went to the Super Bowl, but Stafford is just like, you can't get another quarterback in, and he's not bad enough to get it out. It's mediocrity at its best.
Did you just do a comparison because they are both quarterbacks that have the same first name?
No, I mean, and they're actually very close. They're very close in rookie cards too, right? I think a couple years, 08 and 09. I think 08 was Matt Ryan and 09 was Stafford.
And then Matt Flynn. We go back to the Matt Flynn thing.
Right.
Matt Hasselbeck. There's been a lot of Matts.
A lot of Matt quarterbacks.
A lot of Matt quarterbacks.
Sure.
That's right. Matt Hasselbeck, a fixture of my early fantasy football playing days.
Yep.
Always went with him. Solid
Consistent.
choice. He was.
And I mean, not gonna tear up the stat sheet,
Nope.
but gonna be that in the 8-9 ranked quarterbacks every year.
Exactly.
And you can get them super late in every draft.
And I think one of the most underrated players of all time was on that team with him, Sean Alexander. I don't think we talk about Sean Alexander
MVP,
too much.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, I think he had the record until LaDainian, I think, broke it a couple years later, or maybe even the next year. But I remember Sean Alexander he had that rock and the baby touchdown celebration, and I mean, he was, those couple of years there, he was phenomenal.
He was legit. One more real quick, and we can get into this more next week. I kind of wanted to bring it up this week, but you mentioned the Cardinals, Doug. DeAndre Hopkins is having a crazy good start to the season. I know Kyler is the guy there, but you look at all the stats for DeAndre Hopkins. He's number one, I think, in receptions and targets and receiving yards. He is far and away the best wide receiver in football. Is there any chance, and for both of you guys, I'll let you answer this. Any chance that I know we talked receivers are not usually a hot commodity in the card game, but the way Hopkins is playing and the track record he's had the last few years, any chance that he bucks the trend if he keeps it up as the year goes on?
Hard to say. I think actually part of the problem last week of them losing was DeAndre Hopkins, because I think Kyler just is too zoned in on the guy. I mean, it's just there's other people on the team, and you also have a pretty good running back, but I think the problem with DeAndre Hopkins is his rookie cards are Texans. Yep. I think if he was on the Cardinals the whole time, I'd say maybe let's buck the trend. But, I'm not saying situationally, if they go to the playoffs, they go to the Super Bowl, yes, his cards will definitely go up.
I think that's what would actually need to happen. He needs to go to the Super Bowl, win a Super Bowl. It's tough. It's tough with receivers. Receivers, I mean, teams have 4 or 5 of them on the team, and a lot of them get a lot of snaps. I mean, you look at a guy, we didn't even bring him up, but Justin Jefferson from the Vikings, he had like 180 yards.
Had a huge game this week,
We are not even talking about, and he's a rookie this year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like his
First rounder.
His cards should have literally gone through the roof, and I bet
I think they've went up.
I think they went up, but they didn't go up like
a running back or a QB.
Like if Joe Burrow threw for 450 yards and 4 touchdowns, and the Bengals ended up winning that game, his cards would have went up 30-40%. Justin Jefferson's cards probably went up 10%, and they were probably dirt cheap already. Yeah. So is the receiver the least monetary valued position on the offense in cards?
I think running backs are. I really do.
It's hard to say that with Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
But his cards fell back down. I mean, I think at least with the receivers, they have maybe 10-year careers as opposed to 5-year careers. You know, I think running backs nowadays is like 5-year careers. I mean, Melvin Gordon, like Todd Gurley. I mean, they're playing now, but it's almost like nobody wanted them. It's like a big deal. We don't want them. They're good 5 years ago, but got 5 years worth of miles on them.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around somebody who is in the 2015 draft, and you look at Todd Gurley and Gordon, and even from a fantasy perspective, they're like a flex player at this point.
Yeah.
They are both like, I don't know if I want to put them in my starting lineup. Maybe they might be able to get me like 6 or 8 points. These are both players that used to be your guaranteed starter.
First rounders.
3 years ago, 2 years ago, we were like the 2 best running backs in the league, and fantasy-wise and from a hobby standpoint. And they're just old now.
Yeah,
they 5 years, and now they're just done. It's insane.
Yeah.
You know, I almost feel like we're running a little long here in this last thing I'll say, but I almost feel like the trend started with, I think, is it Robert Smith for the Vikings in the late 90s? He was like 29.
Yeah, he like called it.
He like retired, and it's like ever since then, I feel like it's kind of started the trend of like, you know, Frank Gore's the anomaly, of course, but you know, you got guys that just, you know, they just after 5 or 6 years, it's just there's too much miles. They're getting hit. Their knees are, you know. So it's just like that's why it makes it hard to invest. I mean, I think Adrian Peterson was the last of a dying breed in terms of fantasy, where Adrian Peterson was the number 1 pick for like 5 or 6 years straight. You're just not going to have that anymore, I don't think.
Adrian Peterson is now officially on my fantasy team.
Nice. What team is he on now? Did he
So
go?
I actually, before we even go off, this is funny because we were just talking about this. I have literally the oldest running back group on any fantasy team, probably in any league. I got Melvin Gordon, I got Todd Gurley, and I got Adrian Peterson.
Nice. Yeah. You just need
So,
Frank Gore.
How about Frank Gore?
Just pick him up.
I should pick him up. I should pick him up. He needs to be part of my team. Anybody else I can get?
Yeah, well, you can start going like Larry Fitzgerald.
No, I need to go running backs. Obviously, I'm changing the trend, and I feel that the older the running back is,
you have
the
Tom
better.
Brady too, right?
I have Tom Brady. I actually have the oldest team.
Yeah.
I think the average age of my team is 39 years old.
Experience over youth.
I'm losing every week.
Well, yeah, I love having a fantasy football team that is closer to getting their AARP cards than their rookie season.
Right.
So, yeah, maybe not the best strategy. Well, that's going to wrap things up for this week. Make sure to subscribe to us right here on Mojobreak Media if you are watching us. And, of course, Mojobreak Card Shop and our main feed, Mojobreak. And head on over to mojobreak.com. All of your cards, breaks, everything you want over there. For Doug and Dan, I am Cody, and we will talk to you next week on the Mojobreak Blitz.